It wasn't subtle. It wasn't gradual. It was a full systems failure. My marriage ended, and with it, the internal structure I had been using to orient my life. What fell apart wasn't just the relationship. It was the sense of who I was supposed to be in the world. Partner, provider, protector, a man with direction. And when that scaffolding came down, there was nothing underneath that felt solid. What followed was a flood of sensation I didn't yet have language for. Shame, numbness, anger, emptiness, resentment, often all at once. My body carried it before my mind could make sense of it. My solar plexus felt hollow and collapsed. My gut was constantly tight, anxious, knotted. My nervous system swung between rage and shutdown. I felt like a failure, not just conceptually, but cellularly. As if life itself had rendered a verdict. I didn't need anyone else to tell me I had failed. I was already living inside that story. There was a moment, quiet, unremarkable on the outside, that I now recognize as rock bottom. I realized I had nowhere to go, nowhere to be, and no money. More than that, I had no coherent identity left to perform. The strategies I relied on, effort, intellect, ambition, even spirituality, weren't working anymore. It was from that place that I reached out to my spiritual guide, my teacher, Chandrika. When she invited me to a 10-day retreat in Tulum, my reaction wasn't relief or hope. It was anger. I remember thinking and actually saying to her, "Really? You think a retreat is going to solve this?" I felt offended by the suggestion, as if it trivialized the depth of what I was carrying. I didn't want transcendence. I didn't want spiritual platitudes. I wanted my life back. And her response stopped me cold. You just told me you have nowhere to go, nowhere to be, and no money. And I'm not asking you for money. I'm inviting you to participate in my container. I didn't know what container meant. Not really. But something in me recognized that I couldn't keep doing what I was doing, and that doing nothing was no longer an option. So I got on a plane to Mexico. Those 10 days, that 2 weeks in Tulum, changed me in ways I still struggle to put into words. Even now, almost 8 years later, it wasn't healing in the way people usually mean it. It didn't fix my problems, and it didn't give me answers. What it did was disassemble me. Anger moved through my body instead of being suppressed or projected. Grief surfaced without needing to be justified. Old identities dissolved without immediate replacements. And for the first time, I experienced what it meant to be held in a true container. Not rescued, not bypassed, not empowered through affirmation, but witnessed, challenged, and metabolized. Power was no longer something I had to perform. It was something I had to earn by staying present with discomfort. That retreat wasn't the rise, it was the death. In tantric and yogic philosophy, the solar plexus chakra, Manipura, is the seat of personal power, will, and identity. Located at the navel center, it governs our sense of self, our capacity to act, and our relationship with fire. And when Manipura is balanced, we feel clear in our identity, confident in our choices, able to take action without collapsing or dominating, connected to our inner fire without burning out. And when it's blocked or wounded, we experience shame and self-doubt, people-pleasing and overgiving, rage or complete shutdown, loss of direction and purpose. The solar plexus is ruled by the fire element, Agni, the same fire that transforms, purifies, and illuminates. But fire can also destroy. The work is learning to tend the flame without letting it consume you. My reclamation took years. It involved rebuilding my relationship to my body, my will, my word, and my capacity to act without collapsing or dominating. Men's work, breath work, tantra, shadow work, and somatic discipline became pathways for rebuilding a solar plexus that wasn't driven by fear or the need to prove myself. For the first time, I felt truly powerful again. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. I remember I was teaching a small group and noticed my voice was grounded. My belly was warm and steady, and I wasn't trying to impress anyone. My power was no longer dependent on being admired. The fire I lived with then was frantic and sharp, driven by urgency and fear of irrelevance. And the fire I live with now is contained, directional, and patient. It lives lower in my body. It doesn't need to burn everything down to feel alive. And as I move into 2026, my central intention this year is integration. I carry many identities: father, teacher, lover, businessman, spiritual practitioner, leader, wounded man. And for a long time, these parts of me lived in silos. And the work now is not to strengthen one at the expense of another, but to let the same man show up everywhere without switching masks. And what integration would feel like isn't transcendence. It's simplicity. Calm in my belly, clarity in my decisions, consistency across contexts. This is solar plexus work at its deepest level, not performing power, but embodying it, not fragmenting yourself to fit different situations, but showing up whole. What activates and shuts down my solar plexus? Well, I'll tell you. Today, my relationship with the solar plexus is active and ongoing. What activates my power? Breathwork and core-based movement. Teaching from lived truth, not theory. Sacred anger in service of boundaries, and taking responsibility for my impact. What shuts it down? People-pleasing, overgiving without reciprocity, staying too long in unclear relationship dynamics, and performing strength instead of being grounded. The collapse stripped me of false power. The fire taught me earned power. I'm no longer interested in appearing strong. I'm committed to being integrated. And that, more than any title, role, or success, is the fire I trust now. This week's practice: Agni, the fire cleansing breath. This ancient yoga practice stokes the fire in your belly and strengthens the solar plexus. I invite you to stand with your feet hip-width apart, knees slightly bent. Place your hands at the tops of your thighs. We're going to take a deep breath in through the nose, and then we'll exhale completely out the mouth, creating the ha sound. Now hold the breath out and pull your belly button in and up rapidly like a pump 10 to 20 times. Inhale deeply once more and then stand up. Exhale, and now repeat that 3 to 5 times. Just a word of caution: please don't practice this Agni Sara on a full stomach. If you have high blood pressure or are pregnant, please just skip this one. It's not for you. Not at this time. This practice will build heat. It will strengthen your core and it will remind your body what power feels like from the inside out. I'd like to leave you today with a few questions to reflect on. Perhaps you have a journal and a pen. These questions will be in text underneath this video. Where in your life are you performing power instead of embodying it? What identities are you carrying in silos? And what would integration look like? When did you last feel truly powerful? Not because someone validated you, but because you were grounded in yourself. What needs to burn away so that the real fire can emerge? With Earned Fire, I'm Shiva J, signing off. A little PS for you. If my story resonates with you, if you've experienced your own collapse and are working on reclamation, please know you're not alone. This is exactly the kind of work that I do with my clients, that we do in Tantra, and in my men's group with the Sacred Kings. Not by bypassing the pain, but by metabolizing it into power. Maybe it's time we book a discovery call to see if we're aligned to work together one-on-one. There'll be a link in this video. with love.